Okay. People were did plenty things. Yeah, looking at the electoral system through that lens, right? Bola Ahmed Tinubu has a lot of track record, according to you, and by your speech as well. You had mentioned a couple of the things. Of course, you will have against the people PDP's candidates, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. We know that people voted Buhari in 2015 based on his person, not just based on the party that he was in. Yes, he had to belong to the party, but he had always won the election in 2011, 2007, 2011, and 2015 in the north. Majority of the northern vote, he had always won. Of course, it is the entire national distribution of voting that makes PDP remain in power. If it was just based on the northern vote, Buhari would have been president since 2007 or what have you, right? So, but we know that regardless, because of structure, people will have to know or vote this person based on the party that he belongs in, right? But now we have PDP and APC as the biggest contenders, and in your word, they are the two major parties. Now let's talk about the aside, because there is also a way we can focus much on the two, contenders, two major contenders, that we forget that the times are also equally changing. In 2015, or is it 2019, as you mentioned, that Sowore was the Twitter president at the time. Every poll that was, run on Twitter, Sowore probably, it was between Sowore. Nigeria is an interesting country. It was always between Sowore, Kingsley Moghalu, and Fela Durotoye, even as at 2019. But we saw how the elections to play out, that even some of them in their local government of residents and birth, that they will not be able to get up to 10 votes. Some of them will not get 5 votes. Some people did not get 1 vote in their local government. So this is a lot, right? But we also cannot take away the place of individuality in voting. Now, speaking of the third force, we have seen a lot of course, for every year, every electionary year since social media, became a major force. We saw how a president, Barack Obama, galvanized people through social media that came out to support him at the end of the day before he won the 2009 presidential elections in the United States, right? And of course, we have seen how there will be a lot of divide for people like Sowore, Fela Durotoye, Kingsley Moghalu, because they do not have like a united front in that space, as it were, which is why the two major parties, PDP and APC, have had the upper hand. However, looking at how majority of beyond social media now, because trust me, Ayo, I do a lot of research in this regard, at least using Lagos alone, right? As much as I can cover at this point, right? The 2 times I did not drive to work in the last 2 weeks, I deliberately will take the BRT to work in the morning, because that's the easiest way I can get to work. Not for the morning, but because when I'm coming back, I want to enter the yellow bus, right? Because I usually will introduce the political conversation in the yellow bus. Say, something will just happen that will key me into say, yes, this is why you must vote Tinubu. And man, you will see everybody go haywire. Don't mention that name in this bus again. We are all obedient. And I'll ask them one after the other. You say you are obedient. Say, you are Yoruba. How can you be saying you are obedient when you are Yoruba? You say it's not about tribe anymore. They should not fool us with tribe. I will say, so I will keep engaging them, and sometimes I will record the conversation, right? I will record the conversation sometimes on my phone, audio, just to be able to play back, and because we have to come to the terms with the fact that people are moving away just from social media into real life, right? Recently, we saw Peter Obi in Abia State, and we saw how he was received. Of course, our guest last week said that he was amongst his kinsmen, and that's expected. But also last week, Sunday, he was in Abuja, which is the Federal Capital Territory. Of course, that also, does not entirely speak to his spread, as an individual, because like you said, if he goes to Sokoto or Kano or Katsina, will he have that much recognition as he had in Abuja, for instance? But we have a video of him in a particular church, Dunamis International Christian Center in Abuja, and we saw how the reception was. I don't know if we can watch that video very briefly, and then we will continue with this conversation. But I just need to pay attention to how people offline, because this was an offline engagement, which eventually came online, and we saw how the reception was. Let's watch the video very briefly.
And we also have with us tonight Mr. Peter Obi, who has joined us in for the service this evening. Hallelujah.
Okay, so what we just saw is a 100,000 member or sitter church, and the noise, the reception, the applause, the welcome was quite massive. This was an offline engagement. Again, this is not enough to say that Peter Obi now has the critical mass of people behind him. However, following what you said earlier regarding the third force and how the third force has not been able to make move, right? And what I have just said about somebody like Barack Obama, who moved from the 99th person, in their House of Assembly or their house to becoming the presidential candidate and eventually the candidate or the president of the United States of America. Do you think that there is a close possibility that Peter Obi's relevance will eventually move beyond what we see on social media?
Okay, we cannot use Obama's case to judge Nigeria. We can go to that when we have maybe 99% of our population educated and we are equipped with the 21st century internet of ICT age. We still live in Nigeria whereby more than 50%, 60% of our population is now equipped with social media, and they get information through their traditional means of communication. And this is where the chunk of votes, the bulk of votes is always coming from. And that is why it might be hard to have another party to emerge for a presidential position in Nigeria anytime soon. If we have had a case of a very popular person like Wangwaso from the north, and it's very paired with a popular person like Peter Obi in the southeast who have matched. The situation might be a bit different, but it will have been very, very difficult. Because aside also matching force, there's what we call structure. We made example, we talked about President Buhari. I have been contesting all this while I'm winning the north without getting the vote of the south, and until he saw reason to mark the people like Bola Ahmed Tinubu and some other major force in the south to help him to galvanize the southern votes. In many of these places, how we play politics is very different. When you go to north, their politics is what we call the elitist politics. You can't just go there and 2 days, 3 days to election, all of them still gather at their mosque and they want to listen to what their elites in their locality will say that this is where we are going, and forget it. Once they say this is where we are going, you cannot tell them anything after their elites have decided that this is the person that is good for us. When you go to south, the politics they play in that place is not politics of this is that. They play politics of the warlord. Many of the people in the south till today, none of them have seen ballot paper, and they say they are voting. Even though we condemn that in totality, but that is the reality of what is happening there. When we talk of where they vote in Nigeria, we can only come to the southwest and some part of the southeast. Some part of the southeast. You understand? every part of Nigeria with different approach to democracy and how things is being done. It's hard now to come to somewhere in Lagos and someone will just say, go like this, and everybody will be going. Even if you are going to achieve that, you have to go through, people from outside don't like people controlling them, but every area will be there. So when you are looking at election, as a national election like this, a lot of things are put into consideration, a lot of factors are put into consideration, and a lot of things decide who becomes who and who becomes the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That is why I must tell you, the video online, that's nothing to do with the president election. Even me as a person, if I'm running under any party today as a president, we know how we play our game and we can mobilize more than 200,000 youth to a place just to show jamboree. When you see people, just any politician can get number. That's why you can see a politician that in your widest mind that this person is a corrupt and a thief and is not even giving a simple detail of democracy. And when you go to his own time, you can always see people around him. When you go to PDP do campaign, the same rented crowd that you see there, that's the same rented crowd you see in APC campaign. Crowd is not anything in deciding anything. When we are talking of number, the real people in the local governments, in their polling units, these are people that win election for people. Not you are an event, people are hailing you and making it. No. So that video, I saw it on Twitter. Some people might read minute to it. So some of us, we know that the election is more than this. As we have limited time to 2020 election, we should keep more on our manifesto, how we want to address issues affecting every Nigeria. Issue-based campaign, not campaign of complaint. Issue-based campaign. This is electricity. This is what I will do. This is how I'm going to solve it. This is number of days. If I become president today, within this number of days, I'm going to solve this problem on electricity. This is insecurity. This is what is happening in the north. This is what is happening in the southeast. This is what is happening in the south. This is how I'm going to correct it within my first 3 months in office. This is who I'm going to appoint. This is what I'm going to solve. This is our economy. Our naira is already in 700 naira per dollar. This is how I want to solve. How I want to revive the economy from what we have. This is our mineral resources, our petroleum, and everything is going haywire. The whole value change in the exchange market is reducing day by day. This is what we are diversifying to. This is how we want to do it and do it and do it. This is what we need. These are the youth. This is what I promised you to my government. This is the number of percentage of youth that are going to work with me in my government. This is the number of business we want to support. This is how we want to improve the educational sector. This is how we want to elevate people from the streets. Number of out of school students and bring them back into school. This is how we want to make sure that every of our graduates get something to do. These are campaigns we want to listen to. Not that I wear one wristwatch for 35 years. My first son did not have a car. It's only on the share market I used to buy goods. My salary is 5 years. These are not what Nigeria wants. We want issue-based campaign, and let's drive it to locality and leave social media, and let's penetrate the people that determine the vote in the polling units. This is how election is going on in Nigeria. I've contested election. I contested in the last primary election the Progressive Party as an House of Rep member. And you understand that it goes a lot beyond making it on social media. The real game is on the field.